going to start with Mr. Blunt. This is question number one. Please tell us, Mr. Blunt, about yourself and why you're the best candidate. We know you're the incumbent. We want to know why you should stay in that position.
My name is, I think I'm mic'd up. My name is Gary Blunt. I moved to Camden County and started office practicing CPA, just finishing up my 42nd year. My office in 1990 here. I came down from Savannah, where I spent 10 years training in a firm there. I've been on the Board of Commissioners since January of 11. Since then, when I came into that position, our digest had dropped 35%, which correlates to the revenues dropping 35%. Direct correlation. Looked around and we had no industry here. We had no commercial growth here. I mean, I've been practicing here since 1990. I've watched all the local vendors and local businessmen shut the doors and the vacant offices. But what's concerning me the most, and should concern everyone, is your digest. Our digest is trending to residential, and that's a huge problem. That means the residential property taxes are going to be paying the burden. So the question was, why do we not have growth here? Look at all our natural resources. Look at what we have available. So that was the first thing we came. The most obvious thing. We've got to change the trajectory of our digest. We've got to bring in more commercial activity because the cost of government's not going down. The cost of government's going up. I'm dealing right now, I'm 2 days into 5 days of budget meetings, and we've got $5.3 million in additional funding requests for the county. We have $2.4 million in additional revenues based on the current millage rate and the projected digest. There's a shortfall, 2.9, that's 2 meals. I don't know what your hand means.
Your time's up.
Well, I was just getting started. Y'all gonna have to give me 15, 20 minutes on each one of these.
We know that. That's why we put you on the timer. Mr. Goodman.
Same question, Mr. Goodman.
Thank you, Mr. Fourier. I'll finish for you, Mr. Blunt. Thank you for being here tonight. I was born in the first half of the last century in Fernandina because St. Mary's did not have a hospital, and thank goodness we now have a hospital and other health facilities. I was educated in the Camden County school system, graduating in '65, went off to college, and essentially stayed a resident of St. Mary's until after college. And I embarked upon a circuitous career up through Georgia and North Carolina and West Virginia and down to Florida in healthcare administration. And I moved back here about 10 years ago. I was here for a number of years before I ran for city council. I'd like to read what I put out on my website. To the voters of Camden County Commission District 4, I earnestly solicit your vote and support for the District 4 seat on the Camden County Board of Commissioners. I pledge to you that I will conduct myself at all times as your representative rather than a person who has no regard for the opinion of the greater majority of the voters. I will hear all opinions before making a decision. I will never treat you with contempt. I will never threaten to bring lawsuit against you or use the county attorney to file an action against you as a result of your using a constitutionally guaranteed right to redress the question or question your government, including if you question me. I will insist upon fully enforcing the tenets of government in the sunshine, and I will insist upon all meetings being broadcast and recorded if possible. I will absolutely insist that the executive session meetings will be used judiciously and only for the 3 qualified reasons as stated in the official code of Georgia. Thank you very much.
Okay, on this side, Mr. Turner, same question. Tell us about yourself, please, and why you're the best candidate.
I'm going to stand. I'm a little short anyway, and I don't like to be below you. I'm a good old boy. I've been here since I was 4 years old. I'm not ashamed of it. I am proud to be a Camden County person that's lived here all of my life. I tell people all the time, I play, and Jim probably knows this area, but I played on the last Hurricane football team and the first Camden County Wildcat football team. So I've been here forever. I love this community more than I even love a lot of people in this particular room. But I love this community. So I am that good old boy. I am a businessman. I've been in business here for over 20 years. And my brother and I took a business from zero up to $2.5 million. We had 3,000 customers when we sold this business a little over a year ago. We were very successful in what we did. And the reason was we listened to our customers. If our customers called and they had a complaint, we took care of their complaint. That was essential and that was critical. I'm also a chamber member. Not ashamed of it at all. As a matter of fact, I was chairman of our local Chamber of Commerce for 2 years. During that 2 years, we went from 350 members almost to 500 members in 3 years. We fought for small businesses. We worked with our small businesses. We did everything that we could to see our businesses excel and grow here in Camden County. Because I believe this with all of my heart. Where the business goes, the community goes. Without the small businesses and without the business in the community to sustain growth, then we're all in trouble. We've got to go other places. I'm done, right? That means no. I got 15 more seconds? No, I got nothing. Okay. I sit down.
Mr. Winkle, same question. 2 minutes. Tell us about yourself, please, and why you're the best candidate.
I'm Steve Winkle. I'm running for District 2 Commissioner. My resume and my background is at the website that is on the yellow card or on the brochure that you found on your seat. So I'm not going to go into much background about myself. My wife and I moved here more than 10 years ago. We chose Camden County. We didn't have roots here. We found that we liked what we saw. And frankly, that's the basis for the decisions that I'm going to make going forward as County Commissioner. I want to make sure that Camden County is attractive, not just to the lifers who have been here all their lives and have learned to like this place, but I want it to be attractive to the people we need to staff the factories that everyone is talking about. One of the problems that I have with the direction the county has taken about the spaceport is that what we have heard is that it's all about the STEM jobs. In our high school, we have a program, and I haven't heard a word tonight yet about the eSplost, which has a program for our ag program to develop ag students and welders and the other technicians that these businesses that have already committed to Camden County need now. And that program needs that funding, and I'm a strong supporter of this eSplost bill that is on the same ballot that I would hope that you choose me on. And so when I look at Camden County, I look at trying to provide for others a reason to live here. That means we need more low and entry level housing. We need to have not apartments which do not provide enough funding for our schools to support the number of students they put in. We need to have more education that is rounded for the kind of businesses that want to be here naturally. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go in reverse order. Use this. We're starting with Mr. Winkle. Question number 2 for 2 minutes.
Do we have a copy of the question?
Yes, I think she just dropped it off.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is a personal and professional expertise question. Do you feel your strongest focus in serving the residents of Camden County to be fiscally and accountable, health, regarding health and emergency response, law enforcement, or infrastructure, and how does your talent and your skill set bring value to serving the taxpayers of Camden County?
Very simply, I've worked in bigger environments and worked for larger companies, and I've worked for very good companies in which I've learned a lot. I've learned how to deal with systems that are complex, and I have been successful in those. I was able to retire, not because of my lifelong work effort, but because of what I learned through my lifelong effort, and finally was able to culminate with really great skills on my last job that started in my 50s. And so when I look at this, I've learned fiscal accountability. I've had to meet $200 million budgets and prepare $200 million budgets. And one of the reasons why I did financially well was because I understood the value of the dollar to my bosses and for everyone that was in my company. When it comes down to health and emergency response, anyone who's been reading me for the last 5 years on the letters to the editor page knows I am a very strong supporter of properly funding our EMS and first responder services, and that I am very concerned about the fact that the reopening of the federal prison and enlarging of the federal prison in Fargo and the Buc-ee's up the road will be paying $20 an hour, and our officers are getting paid 20% below that. And we don't see what the plan is for that. I am concerned about infrastructure. For instance, Exit 22 consumed $10.8 million to put in a new interchange. And the county hasn't figured out some way to use our bonding power to put in the kind of facilities there, electricity, water, and sewer, so that businesses will want to develop at that location, and so that we will have the north part of our county start to develop. And so, thank you very much. I'm sorry I got cut off.
All right, Mr. Turner, I'm not going to reread the question.
That's okay.
Same question.
Okay. I think that my strongest point is basically in the area of communication. I've got an undergraduate degree, it's a liberal arts degree. I've got a master's degree that deals with business leadership. When I was working at Gilman Paper Company, I was the coating and additive supervisor, which meant that I ordered all the chemicals. I had 32 people that worked for me, and I made sure that that paper machine had the chemicals it needed to make the product that we could sell. Well, they took me one day and put me on a paper machine across the way and made me a tour foreman. They started losing $1 million a day, and nobody could fix this problem. They had scratches in the paper, couldn't sell it. So they made me come in and work my off day. But I'm smart enough, believe it or not, to know that I do not know everything and that I can't fix everything. But sometimes you need to go out for help. So you know what I did? I called in all the chemical gurus. Everybody that sold me product, I made them all come in. We got together, we looked at the problem, and we had what they call a Katie mill. And a Katie mill is where they mix these chemicals together. And it was so unique. I had all of these scientists and all these intelligent people, and we were putting these things in and doing them all together. And you know what we found out? We found out that we had a positive charge chemical going in with a negative charge chemical. Nobody could fix that. So what I did was, and that's what I would do here, if I don't have an answer, I'm going to tell you I don't have an answer. It's just plain and simple. I didn't have the answer, but I knew where to go to find the answer. And when I found the answer, that changed it. We turned around, we put the positive charge and the negative charge in at different points. The scratches went away. We immediately began to sell product from that moment on. And that's what I do. Now, is that fiscally responsible? Absolutely. We went from losing $1 million a day to gaining $1 million a day. That's why it's important to look. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
You're welcome.
Mr. Goodman, same question.
Thank you. I've caught on to this time thing. That doesn't mean stop. That means stop. Thank you very much. The question is centered on fiscal responsibility and accountability. I completed my nursing home internship, a postgraduate of my bachelor's degree with Charter Medical Corporation, and that means they taught me everything in the world about running a nursing home business. I know how to strip and wax this floor. I know what a phenolic wax is. I know all of the things about life safety codes. I know how to run a business, a multi-million-dollar business. Following that, I segued into hospital administration. During the time of my hospital administratorship, all of my hospitals had a nursing home component, so I continued to do that. At the same time, I was director of EMS in Pierce County because it was a hospital-based service. I also took the Firefighter 101, Mandate 101 course and became a firefighter. I was the deputy coroner in Ware County and served as acting coroner, so I have some law enforcement experience as a constitutional officer. In 2009, I was one of 50 people admitted out of 5,000 applicants for a seat at the Florida Highway Patrol Academy. I got my tail tore up in defensive tactics as a 61-year-old man. I'm not ashamed of it. It's something I always wanted to do, and I'm glad I did it. Do I have fiscal responsibility? Yes, I do. Am I personable enough to bring to bear listening to people? Yes, I am. I don't know everything. I am approachable. I can take my talents and I can do the job of being your representative and your servant by listening to experts and by bringing to bear sound fiscal policies for the benefit of all of Camden County. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Blunt, we're going to end this question with you. Same question. I won't read the whole question.
Okay. As I was saying earlier, I consider, I guess, my strongest suit would be fiscal responsibility and accountability. When I came into office, everything was going downhill. Right now, our general fund, if you look at our county of 159, you probably won't find but a couple that have zero long-term debt. We lowered the millage rate, minuscule last year, 0.22 something. We have a fully funded general fund reserve, and we have a digest now that is starting to move trending upward with new growth. Now, the folks that say their taxes went up, if you've been living here since '06, you're frozen in the county. City, you're not. That was the state. It doesn't matter what your assessed property goes to, you're frozen. It's all based on the millage rate. When we look at what's happened, we have navigated through some of the most difficult times financially that this country's been through. You take the past 2 years of pandemics. We have run a very tight budget. We have maintained a very tight fiscal budget. And we've come out of it. And we're coming out of it. All the while, we've made a huge investment in the spaceport. Is it an investment? Yes, it is. Why does it need to be? Because that is one of the greatest opportunities this county has for commercial and industrial development, along with STEM programs, because we've been contacted by numerous colleges and schools wanting to come here with STEM programs. But it wasn't the STEM programs, it's the commercial development that we've got to have. We've got to change the direction of it. Or I'm telling you now, your millage rates are going to start going crazy, because every year.
Thank you, Mr. Blunt. Okay, question number 3, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Blunt. You have the question. It was just dropped off to you, so I'll let you read it along with me. This is 2.5 minutes. We're giving you an extra half minute for this one. Digest. The county's net tax digest value has increased over 24% compared to 5 years ago, with an 8.5% increase over the prior year. The local option sales tax revenue has increased over 63% compared to 5 years ago, with a 19% increase over the prior year. Despite strong growth, property taxes continue to increase. Do you feel a millage rate increase is the best way to increase revenues and fund operations, or can you share other ways to strengthen the budget in Camden County?
I'll continue. The digest is now 10% below what it was when I came in. Revenues are down lower than what they were. Do we want to increase the sales tax revenue? Yes. Our SPLOST numbers are exceeding, but they stop when we hit the number that we budgeted for. Sales tax is up. Has afforded the state the opportunity to send back a lot of money. Loss negotiations, Those are going to be happening very soon now. That money is divided up between the cities and the county. Yes, our digest has increased, but we're still behind. Just like I told you, I got $5.3 million in additional funding in our current year budget. We have 2.4 million in additional revenues based on the projected digest and the current millage rate. And in that 5.3, 0 is for Spaceport, by the way. So it's not let's take it from Spaceport and take care of all these other issues. It's not there to take it from. I've got 3 million payroll increase requests from the Sheriff's Department. And all you say, well, let's pay them. Okay, that's great. I got 2.4 million before we have to raise millage rates. You tell me where you want to take it all from. I have to sit there and we have to make those hard decisions, and we have to work the best we can. If we want to make, we contracted a salary study about 6-8 months ago. It come in to bring this county up to where they say we should be, including the Sheriff's Department. That's about 2.1 million all by itself. This doesn't include hiring more people. That's just bringing our current salaries up to date. In the sheriff's budget alone, they're requesting $700,000 for fuel. The budget last year was increased to $326,000. When you look at all these things, there are so many places you can go. You either have to deny, or you're going to have to go to the millage rate. There's only so many wells that you can dig from. We've been debt-free, and we want to maintain that.
Mr. Goodman, same question, number 3, and I think you have it in front of you regarding our digest in Camden County.
I do, Mr. Fortier. Thank you so much. Number 1, Martin Turner used this expression the other day, and it was one of the things that was taught in my internship for Charter Medical Corporation. When your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. And I was also taught in my hospital preceptorship by a man who became the administrator of Baptist Hospital South, Mr. Larry Ferris, bless his heart, that it's a multi-million-dollar business, but it is spent one dime at a time. And if you do not know what a square of toilet tissue, excuse the reference, costs you when you're running a hospital, then you're missing the boat. If you do not know that you can buy your soap that's not wrapped individually, but that it can be handled in a sterile fashion without paying the extra expense and creating the slip and fall hazard of a waxed paper on a tile floor, you're missing the boat. So it's details, it's finite details for operating a multi-million-dollar business, which the county, of course, is. So the stop spending on the spaceport part of it comes in to say it might be a percentage, it might be a small thing, but it's certainly enough to put a big dent in the absolutely crucial expense of operating an E911 center and putting law enforcement officers at the ready to serve us in a time of need. We can also use more business development on rational businesses, businesses that do indeed have some hope and some future in Camden County. We need to have a diversification. We need to let the Joint Development Authority be the lead agency and the people who go out and get business for us. The County Commission has no business whatsoever being speculative land purchasers. It's not good. They pretty much don't do well at it. The city of St. Mary's didn't do well at it. Thank you, Mr. Saines. I appreciate the nod of approval. And don't be doing that if you don't want me to call you out on it. So, yeah, we need more business. Mr. Timekeeper, what's on your twisted mind? Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Mr. Turner, we're on the same question. County tax digest.
I'm going to try to talk a little slower, but you got 3 minutes. You almost got to preach. No way around it. But, 2.5. That's not fair. Anyway, I don't see that. You guys have heard me talk about the multiplier effect. I think that's effective here. I've got a report called the Industry Leakage Report, and it would surprise you at how much revenue actually leaks out of our county. As a matter of fact, the major areas that we have surplus in are gasoline. Go figure that. That's because people in Florida have to pay more taxes on the gas, so they come to Georgia to get it. But all these other things, motor vehicles, parts, furniture, electronics, building materials, clothing and clothing stuff, sporting goods, all of these other businesses, it leaks out of our county. Here's something else that I thought was extremely important to look at. That we have in our county a labor force of 21,628 people. Our weekly wages average around $912, and our county unemployment is 2.5%. Working in the county is 46% of these people here in our county. Working outside our county is 53.9%. That's why I keep saying we've got to get more industry into Camden County. Whether it's small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, or whatever, we need to do it. I've lived here a long time, and I've seen 3 businesses shut down. Kraft Bag was the first one. My brother-in-law lost his job, and a lot of other people that were local people here lost their job that expected to keep going back to work. And they made the ones that wanted to go to Eastman. They had to leave Camden County to keep their job. Then we lost the paper mill. And I had to walk out of that particular job. No job to go to. Had to start a business with a 401k and a truck. And that's where we started Turner Brothers Heating and Air Conditioning. And by the way, we did take it to where it was then, but it was hard. I remember going home at night sometime wondering where I was going to get payroll the next day. I remember going to the banks and asking for loans, and them telling me that all I have were intangible assets, and that doesn't qualify for some loan. I remember all those particular pains. So we got to stop this leakage that's going to Florida. We got to bring it back to Camden County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Mr. Winkle, same question on our Camden County Tax Digest.
Stop the waste. That's the most important thing. We have almost a complete lack of effective accountability for the decisions that have been made about the spaceport, as an example. It's just an example, because you can relate these to other things. For instance, in Harriet's Bluff, the park that we have, the recreation park we have there, does not meet the legal requirements for ADA safety. The ends of the slides are 1 foot to 1.5 feet too high off the ground for small children. And the reason why we don't have injuries there is because the bathrooms are always locked and people won't take their kids to the park. And so Spaceport takes $33,000 a month to one vendor out of Camden County. Goes to Illinois. That's shrinkage. And that is tax money that's shrinking. Not the money from our payrolls, but that's the money that the tax collector takes from you whether you want to give it or not. We have another vendor on the spaceport that takes over $12,000 a month for the spaceport. Now, the first one, we have no idea what he does. There is no accountability. I have used Open Record Act's request for 2 years on that one and 7 years on the $12,000 a month, and I get highly redacted statements from the county that tells you that they're working on real estate acquisition even this month. Real estate acquisition in which the Supreme Court is hearing a case in which they've been told they can't spend any money. And in order to fight the voters who voted against spending money on the spaceport, on buying the Union Carbide property, they're spending even more money on attorneys in Atlanta, which is additional shrinkage. Spaceport hadn't created any jobs in Camden County. It sent money out of Camden County. $16,000 was spent last month to pay for Steve Howard's membership in the Commercial Space Flight Federation. He doesn't even have the word Camden, not Camden County, in his biography, which is on that website as a member of the board of directors. So we don't get any value out of that whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winkle. Thank you. I'm going to turn the mic over to Ms. Baldwin, our chair.
Thank you. As we move through this, I'm relieved that we are about 15 minutes ahead of time. I've timed this thing out, and I was worried that we were going to be short on time, but we're going to continue on the schedule that we're on. Question number 4, respecting the voter. Twice the voters of Camden County have been disregarded. On November 2nd, 2019, 83% of 2017 Camden voters approved a referendum to reorganize the PSA due to poor fiscal management and oversight. The Camden County Board of Commissioners circumvented the intent of the new legislation by appointing a fellow commissioner as a citizen rep on the newly organized board. On March 8th, 72% of 5,779 ballots cast indicated voters wanted the Board of Commissioners to cease negotiations on the Union Carbide property. What is your position on respecting the sovereign will of Camden County's voters, and how will you ensure that it is respected? Mr. Winkle.
The Board of Commissioners will not have any communication if you bother to go to a county public meeting. There's no two-way communication. You're allowed to speak, they don't answer. Open Records Act requests are redacted or refused entirely. For instance, we do not know how much we have paid Union Carbide. That's never been public. It's never been made public, and they refuse to fulfill Open Records Act requests for 5 years on that number. It happens to be $2.8 million, by the way. $450,000 was allocated to the spaceport in 2020, June 2020, in the budget that would have been spent during the FY21 year ending last July 1st. When you look at the certified annual financial report, that money wasn't spent on the spaceport. That money was spent somewhere else, as was $432,000 that was allocated to public safety. And that could have been fire salaries, that could have been equipment. We don't really know because there's no accountability for it. These are actual numbers taken from the certified annual financial report that was released a week or so ago. And so when we take a look at this, the lack of accountability is why we cannot trust the commissioners. They're not open, they're not transparent. They don't let us know their reasoning why they're not spending the money that was actually budgeted for emergency services. They are not telling us what happened to the $450,000. It just disappears between the budget and the certified annual financial report. There's no accountability for that. It was probably spent on something needed, but what? And can we measure the improvements? Or was it wasted? And so when we take a look at the problems that we have with them ignoring the vote of the people, the electorate is the one who chooses our representatives in government. And when we tell them we're unhappy, they're not listening. And so the problem that we have, and this is a national problem, not just local, is that we have people who think they're our kings and they know better than the rest of us. But the fact is, we collectively know far more than they do individually, except for the secrets they keep.
Mr. Blunt? Commissioner Blunt.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Blunt, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I've been called a lot of things. PSA. County hadn't disregarded anything. PSA legislation that went through was poorly written, and I think it's well known. And I think Mr. Saines has recognized that and tried to amend it. As far as the citizens, that's what it said. We put on there what they said. They didn't say you couldn't have commissioners. We've put on who we felt like best, gave oversight there. Now, with that being said, as far as what the PSA does and how it functions, when they were not performing and its responsibility to the county and providing its statements, we all, I'm sure, know what I did. We put a hold on it. I will say, they have now started providing the financial reports. We still hadn't gotten our audits for 2 years, but we are getting regular financial reports. As far as the UCC property goes, simple. They want to talk about things that are redacted. When people come in here, industries are coming here, they want to do business with, they want to talk to us. Your company don't want your company, that company. They want everybody to know what their business is. And so we sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They have legal rights as well. And the luxury that's afforded to the cities, the state, and everywhere else. We're abiding by all those guidelines. We're not being, trust me, I would rather tell you everything that's going on, believe you me, but the lawsuits would be ridiculous. I would much rather tell you everything that's going on, but I can tell you now, we're dealing with 6 launch companies that want to come here. We need time to finish putting together what we've been trying to put together, but the other side, want to talk about expenditures, the other side has cost us conservatively in the money that we spent, $2.5–3 million on ridiculous claims, repetitive stuff, 280 something for requests just from himself. It's unbelievable. And this is all funded by money not here in Camden County. This is all funded by dark money.
Mr. Goodman?
Thank you, Ms. Baldwin. This is an interesting question to me as one of the 2 named plaintiffs in the lawsuit to try to prevent the purchase of the highly contaminated Union Carbide property. It's difficult for me to articulate the degree of insult that I felt and the degree of arrogance that I think it took for my own government to threaten to sue me and to threaten to put me under a $20 million bond for simply expressing a state constitutionally guaranteed right that I have to question them. What I offered was, instead of making a bonding company rich and giving them a commission, let me write you a $20 million check, because my credibility at that point exceeded that of the County Board of County Commissioners and certainly their attorney. I was insulted, I was infuriated, I was enraged, and I'm indignant about it. And trust me, it factored heavily in my decision to come before you and promise you that I will never, and I said this in my opening statement, treat you with contempt and hostility. I will be your servant model. I just turned my mic off, I think. Humble servant, and I will never take an adversarial position against you. We're not adversaries. I will work for you. I won't do that kind of stuff. I don't know how else to express it except to say that it was personal at that point, and it is still personal. I'm just lost for words, because this is the kind of thing that makes my temples, pulse and makes me flare with anger, and that's a dangerous thing for me. I can control it. I can be very, very civil, but I will never do this kind of thing. And how I will ensure that it'll never happen again is respect for you, the voters. Absolute respect. Thank you, Mr. Timekeeper.
Mr. Turner?
I want to change some of the wording to twice the voters. I want to say twice the citizens. I'm a citizen as well. I'm going to share with you my heart. One thing that I've learned in doing this whole process is that people aren't always as they seem, and things aren't always as you see on the outside. There's some things that go on behind the scene. 4 years ago, and I'm just telling you this, I'm not throwing stones or trying to beat anybody up, but 4 years ago, Sheila McNeil ran as our state senator. She came to my office and asked if I would help her win this election. 2 reasons that I did. Number one, she knew Camden County. I wanted our state senator to be from Camden County. I didn't want them to be from Brunswick or anywhere else. I wanted them to be from here because they had that they knew us. They were a part of us, and that was important. So I gave her some money. I took a picture, and I put my arm around her. And now, all of a sudden on Facebook, there's a picture of me with my arm around Sheila McNeil stating some derogatory comments toward me. And I'm thinking, why? What did I do to deserve this? Why did this happen to me? Now, granted, believe me, I understand this cesspool sometimes, but it bothers me that we, the citizens of Camden County, do not pull together. We're pulling apart. And I've seen that before. I saw it in St. Mary's when the city council, after a meeting was over, took it outside because they were ready to fight. And nothing got accomplished. On page 171 of the County Commissioner's Handbook, it basically says that people that are moving to or bringing industry into a particular place will check the citizens and the government officials to see if they're working together to move forward. That's all I want, folks. I don't really want another job. I'm semi-retired. I'm a minister at a church. I'm on the air with WECC. I got a lot going on, but I want to see this community pulling together, not constantly ripping us apart. So whoever put that picture on Facebook, thank you. I really appreciate it because it hurt my heart. And the good thing is, though, I got an opportunity to forgive you for making that vindictive remark. There you go. You again.
Okay, this question was designed specifically for District 2, and I'll let District 4, if they want, we have some time, if they want to answer it as well. But it applies specifically to District 2 because of the exponential growth that is taking there. So here's the question. After redistricting and recent exponential growth, District 2 will be the largest commission district in the county. It includes a large unincorporated area, as well as Camden's most densely populated sector, District 2. How will you serve these two diverse populations? Martin, you'll go.
I'll go first. Wow, I get to finish my conversation. I really believe this with all my heart. These 4 men, any of us that win, I'm with you. I'm for you. I want to see you succeed. I do not want to see you fail at all. I want to see you move forward and bring us with you. It's extremely important that we do that. Diverse, I'm used to that. I have people around me all the time that disagree with me on certain issues. It's a part of life. What's wrong with that? How would we ever grow if we don't disagree and do it the right way? Let me read you this. Mike Baxter, outdoor man, got it last night. I thought it was great. A wise man once said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And even wiser man said, hey, donkey, but he didn't use the word donkey, but I don't use those kind of terms. Hey, donkey, listen up. You might learn something. If no one is talking, then no one is listening. So we have to talk. We have to communicate. If no one is listening, then no one is learning. If no one is learning, then we will become stagnant and set in our ways. It doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. No communication seems to be the weapon of choice right now. All we do is throw rocks. We just keep throwing them at each other. We hide behind social media where we can lash out at others through our impenetrable veil that can only be one-way communication. Communication, I told you last week, is 3 phases. What I said, what you heard me say, and what I meant to say. That's communication. We've got to learn to communicate. Even if we disagree, so what? I'm glad we don't all agree on everything. We would really be in trouble then if we agreed. We would be in a lot of trouble because we'd be yes men. And I've been branded as the yes man for the county commissioners. Let me tell you, I am not. If I don't agree with something, ask Paul Hafer. I don't agree with it. Am I correct? I'm correct. There you go. I knew he'd agree with me. We live in a society where you hadn't hold your hand up yet. We live in a society where communication has almost come to a halt. We share snippets on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media platforms that destroy the lives of other people. Don't do that. Then, look at my card. If you want to see something, look at my card.
Stop.
Dadgummit. I knew you'd get me, Rachel. Okay.